What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today, once again, we're talking about the upcoming 2022 NFL Draft and what the New York Giants might be planning to do in this upcoming draft. Of course, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and we're going to be discussing a topic. Make sure you get involved in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, because we're going to be debating, should the Giants make sure that they draft a tackle if they trade down from the 5th overall pick, or should they just go with the best player available? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive right into the video's topic. Of course, the New York Giants, there's reports swirling around that they would love, quote, love to trade down from the 5th overall pick in this year's draft. Now, one of the reasons why they might be able to is because they're picking at number 5 overall. The Carolina Panthers are picking at number 6 overall. There are reports swirling around that the Panthers are interested in taking a quarterback in this year's draft. Of course, they don't really want to go into the 2022 season with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback once again. There's also a rumor that they're maybe going to trade for Baker Mayfield, which could potentially take them out of the market for a quarterback with the 6th overall pick. But if they're not able to make that trade work, then they really might be in the market heavily for a potential Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett at 6 overall. And the Giants, sitting at number 5 overall, are a perfect team for other teams in the back end of the draft. Maybe, the Saints, the Steelers, they might jump ahead of the Panthers, get in front of the Panthers at number 5 overall in order to draft a quarterback before the Panthers have the opportunity to. So that's why the Giants' 5th overall pick is so valuable this year. And of course, a 7th overall pick, you can make a similar argument. The Atlanta Falcons are potentially another team that's going to be interested in drafting a quarterback. They just traded Matt Ryan. They swung out on the trade attempt for Deshaun Watson. They could potentially be looking to draft a quarterback at number 8 overall, and the Giants sitting at number 7, another position where teams could see a jump forward to get in front of Atlanta to draft a quarterback. But of course, this video, we're going to be discussing that 5th overall pick, the Giants potentially trading down from that pick, because of course, like I mentioned, the reports are saying that the Giants would love to trade down from the 5th overall pick. But if they do, what should the Giants target? Should they absolutely target an offensive tackle or just go with the best player available? Of course, assuming that number 7 overall, they're not able to secure one of the top 3 tackles in the class, is it worth it now if they trade down to somewhere between 15 and 25 to try and target a tackle then? Or maybe just go into the second round and look for a target? Well, let's discuss some of those options that would be available later in the first round and then early in the second round. And then, of course, discuss some of the best players available in the middle first round of the 2022 NFL Draft. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these offensive tackles. Now, one of them that I know is going to be a popular name is Trey Penton. Now, a lot of you guys probably know Trey Penton. Trey Penton's a really popular offensive tackle prospect outside of the top 3. Of course, the top 3 being Evan Neal, Ike Mekwonu, 2 prospects that we discussed on yesterday's episode, and of course, Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. Now, if the Giants don't go with either of those 3 options and they trade down, Trey Penton out of Northern Iowa is a player that really has an opportunity to be on the Giants' watch list, right? Because Trey Penton is a big mauler type. Like, he is a beast. He's got a lot of really coachable traits. He's huge. He's like 6'8", I believe. And he's just kind of one of those players that you look at, 6'7", 330 pounds. He's one of those players that you look at and you say he's very coachable because he has all of those traits that you can make him into a really good prospect. He's a little bit raw, needs a lot of development. Again, played at Northern Iowa, didn't play against the best competition, but he is a prospect that the Giants could potentially take a look at, move him over to right tackle, make him one of those dominant run blockers, because that's what he is right now. He's a very good run blocker, but believe me, he needs some work in pass protection. His technique can use some work. He does need some refinement, and that's something that the Giants would have to really focus in on if they were to draft Trey Penton, especially in the middle of the first round. Now, he might not be a real great day one starter. Again, he's a left tackle at Northern Iowa, so he'd have to make the transition to the other side. Also, as I mentioned, has a lot of flaws in his pass protection skills, but the Giants could potentially move him across the line, coach him up over the next year or so, and hopefully by year 2, he's really put it all together, similar to how Andrew Thomas did after his rookie season, right? Year 2 is when Andrew Thomas had his breakout. So hopefully Trey Penton could be that guy. Now, another offensive tackle prospect that the Giants could take a look at, this one coming in the second round if they don't take an offensive tackle in the first round, would be Abraham Lucas. Now, I really like Abraham Lucas. One of the great parts about Abraham Lucas is that he's already played right tackle. He only allowed 49 pressures across 4 years as a starter at the collegiate level with over 2,000 career pass blocking snaps. So he has plenty of experience in an air raid system. because that the offense that they played with at Washington State, a lot of passing, just a ton of passing of the football. So that's something when we're talking about the New York Giants offensive scheme under Brian Dable, expected to be a lot of throwing, a throw first team, right? A pass first offense with Brian Dable. So that's really where Abraham Lucas shows his value for the New York Giants. He's a great pass protecting right tackle. So you don't have to transition him from the left side to the right side of the line. And he's a really great pass blocker. So he, again, played at Washington State, and he is a second round prospect for a reason. He's got his flaws as well, doesn't really know how to run block because he played in that air raid collegiate system. So that's kind of a huge flaw for him. They'd have to really teach him and coach him how to be a run blocker in the NFL because he wasn't even a run blocker in college much. So Abraham Lucas, I like him. He's got a lot of great tools, 6'6", 315 pounds. Like I said, only 49 pressures across 4 years. Has done a really good job in pass protection. He could be a great target for the New York Giants in the second round of the 2022 NFL draft. I like him a lot, but the only reason they would be targeting him in the second round is if they did not draft an offensive tackle in the first round. So who are some of the prospects that they could take in the middle to late first round if they decide not to go ahead and draft an offensive tackle? Well, I think David Ojabo, edge out of Michigan, we've mentioned him before. He could be a potential prospect if they trade really late back into the first round, but I don't think he's going to go in the first round due to a torn Achilles, even though the New York Giants apparently sent Wink Martindale to go scout him at his pro day. Apparently, they're really interested in David Ojabo, but again, torn Achilles might not make him the best fit because they'd have to wait a year or so. Now, let's say that they don't draft an offensive tackle, but maybe the Giants go ahead, trade down, and get an interior offensive lineman in the first round and go for offensive tackle in the second round. Well, there are a couple interior offensive line prospects that the Giants can target, and these actually do excite me quite a bit. Of course, Tyler Linderbaum, center out of Iowa. We've talked about him a lot on this channel before, on this podcast. He is a really great run blocking prospect, one of the most athletic offensive linemen that you'll ever see. He's just an absolute beast, knows how to get to the second level and throw some pancakes like he's an IHOP cook, right? He is an absolute beast, mauler in the running game. I love Tyler Linderbaum. I think that he would be a perfect plug and play day one great starter for the New York Giants if they were to trade down and draft him later on in the first round. Now, of course, there's also another interior offensive lineman that we can mention, Zion Johnson out of Boston College. Awesome left guard who could be a day one starter for the New York Giants as well, just like we mentioned with Tyler Linderbaum. I really like Zion Johnson. He's a starting guard in a zone run scheme is where he probably fits best. He's got a great run blocker. He's also a good pass blocker. He's one of the best interior offensive linemen in this class. Top two probably. It's probably him and Linderbaum as a top interior offensive lineman. So I like Zion Johnson a lot. Those are two interior offensive linemen that they could potentially target. So what do you all think of that in the comment section down below? Let's say that the Giants at number 7 overall, they go ahead and get Kayvon Thibodeau, but they traded down from number 5, right? And they didn't like the tackles on the board with their value. So let's say that they trade down from number 5 down to pick like 20, and they can get maybe Tyler Linderbaum or maybe Zion Johnson to go along with Kayvon Thibodeau rather than reaching on an offensive tackle just because they have a need at right tackle. What are your thoughts on that down in the comment section below? Because I do think that's a pretty intriguing idea. Yeah, we want the Giants to walk away from the first round with an offensive tackle, but really, don't we just want them to get good offensive linemen, whether they're tackle or guard or center, because the Giants can kind of use help at all those positions. Yeah, I think Mark Lewinsky was a great signing, a great average right guard to play there for the next couple of years, but they could do better. And especially at left guard as well. I think Max Garcia is probably the starter there. I think they could do better there as well. Get a young guy to develop like a Zion Johnson. And at center, John Feliciano, again, really solid starter, I believe, but they can do better. Tyler Linderbaum would probably be an even better starter from day one, in my opinion. I think he's that good of a prospect. Despite being very undersized, he really has just shown a lot of productivity in his collegiate career. And even if day one, he's not a better starter, let him develop. I guarantee you one day he will be. He gets comparisons to Jason Kelce all the time. Jason Kelce has been the best center in the NFL for the last 10 years almost, right? Jason Kelce's phenomenal. So if Tyler Linderbaum can turn into a fraction of what Jason Kelce is, that's going to be a hit for the Giants in the first round. So I kind of really like that idea. Even if the Giants trade down from 5 overall and don't go with a tackle at 7, I'm okay with them potentially at the 20th overall pick. Let's just say that as a random number somewhere in that range. They don't need to reach on a tackle at that spot, but they can go ahead and get an interior offensive lineman to really build out that front 5. And I think that would be really acceptable. And I think that would be a great idea for the Giants. And then you can go back around in round 2, target a guy like Abraham Lucas. Another guy I'll even mention, he might be around 2, round 3 prospect maybe, is Max Mitchell. He's a really good right tackle that showed out at the Senior Bowl. I'm going to pull him up, get some stats on him as well. But also just keep in mind, guys, when the Giants are taking a look at all of these tackle prospects, there have been quotes from guys from Joe Shane before saying that the Giants are going to draft a lot of tackles or a lot of offensive linemen in this class, and they're not just going to be looking only at the top offensive tackles in this class. They're scouting the middle round guys. They had guy out of Tulsa, Tyler Smith out of Tulsa, right tackle. They had him for a top 30 visit as well. They had a couple guys over at their pro day, their local pro day, who were offensive tackles, middle round guys. They're looking at all of their options. They're not pigeonholing themselves into one of the top 5 overall picks to take an offensive tackle. So again, Max Mitchell out of Louisiana, another really good right tackle, not a guy that has to transition from the left side to the right side of the line. He's a good right tackle. I like him a lot. Again, balled out at the Senior Bowl, and he did play a little bit of left tackle in his career as well. I think he's got some good versatility there. So there's a few tackle prospects that they can take a look at outside of round 1. Abraham Lucas, Tyler Smith, Max Mitchell. These are all good guys that they could potentially develop into starters. Now, I don't think these guys are going to be great starters day one, but again, it's about the development. They are young rookie prospects. You have to develop them into quality NFL starters. And all 3 of these guys, I do think, have the ability to be developed into quality NFL starters. Now, once again, let's take a look at some more of the options that the Giants could take in the middle of the first round outside of the tackle position, right? Now, Kyle Hamilton's draft stock has been dropping quite a bit. I know a lot of you probably are aware of that. He's somebody that Giants fans argued should be taken at 5 or 7. Well, then he ran a really slow 40 at his pro day and at the combine. He's kind of fallen down draft boards. I see him going in between picks 10 and 20 in some of these mock drafts. So that's potentially someone that the Giants could keep an eye on. Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner. I know a lot of Giants fans want him at 7. Maybe in the scenario he's taken at 7, but what if he's not? What if they get Kayvon Thibodeaux at 7, trade down, and Sauce Gardner's on the board at like 15? Well, then I'm taking Sauce Gardner as well. I think that's something you really have to consider there. And take a look at a couple more prospects. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I know a lot of Giants fans aren't too keen on the idea of drafting a wide receiver, but you could potentially get a really good starting wide receiver opposite of Kenny Galladay in the middle of the first round this year. Jordan Davis out of Georgia, just a beast, like basically Quinnen Williams 2.0 interior defensive lineman. He would be a great selection for the Giants. Couple cornerbacks, Andrew Booth out of Clemson, Chris Olave, another wide receiver out of Ohio State, George Karlaftis, a really nice edge rusher out of Purdue that the Giants could potentially target. So there are a lot of options for the Giants in the middle of the first round. Like, this is a good draft class. I know it's not too strong at those flashy positions, right? Like quarterback or wide receiver. I mean, there's a few first round wide receivers, but it's not like, oh my God. But there are some really good prospects for the Giants that fit their needs, which is pretty much every position on this roster. There are some really good prospects for them to target in the middle of the first round or late in the first round if they do decide to trade down. I mean, if you take a look at all the mock drafts and really like fans of different teams and what they're saying about mock drafts, there's a lot of teams and fans from teams like the Cardinals that just love their mock drafts, the Cowboys that love their mock drafts. Those 2 teams are picking at 23 and 24. Steelers fans, Eagles fans, those are 19 and 20. Picks at number 17. Chargers fans are really liking the draft picks that they're getting in mock drafts as well. There are some great options later on in the first round. And if the Giants are keen or if they're dead set on trading down from number 5 overall in order to gather a first round pick in the 2023 NFL draft, I'm not against the idea, okay? I think if the Giants trade down from 5 overall, get down to somewhere between 15 and 25 overall in the first round, they still have their 7th round pick to get a top tier prospect, a top 10 pick, right? That you get a top 10 prospect in this year's class at number 7 overall. And then later on, you just go best player available. In my opinion, that's something that you can absolutely do. And it doesn't even have to be the best player available, but you don't have to reach on a tackle in the first round. And like I said, Tyler Linderbaum, Zion Johnson, those are great prospects that the Giants can consider later on in the first round on the offensive line. They'll still get that offensive line reinforcement, that boost on the offensive line, major upgrade that they need, but they don't have to pigeonhole themselves into taking a tackle in the first round, in my opinion. You can go best player available later on. Again, there's so much value to be had from that 5th overall pick. If the Giants are able to trade down 10 spots or 15 spots, but also get a first round pick in next year's class, that's super important for the Giants, especially when you're taking a look at Daniel Jones. He's going into the final year of his contract. I think it's really unlikely that the Giants pick up his 5th-year option. And if he even if he plays well this year, there's no guarantee that the Giants retain him next year. They might just be in the market for a quarterback in 2023, and potentially they could be a really bad team this year. They could be picking pretty high. Having an extra first round pick might just be enough to get them all the way up to the 1st overall pick to draft a quarterback. So something to keep in mind for the New York Giants. They really want to get that 2023 first round pick. That's been in multiple reports, is that they're looking to move up and get a first round, or move down in this year's draft and get a first round pick in next year's draft. So keep an eye on that as we inch closer to the draft. Of course, the potential of the Giants trading down for 5 overall. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do the Giants have to draft an offensive tackle in round 1? Is their first round a failure if they walk out of it without an offensive tackle? Or could you see them taking best player available? Maybe Zion Johnson, maybe Tyler Linderbaum, maybe one of those cornerbacks or edge rushers in the middle of the first round. Is that acceptable to you? And can they just go into the 2nd round maybe looking for an offensive tackle? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. We have plenty of great New York Giants content coming to you daily. But yeah, guys, really appreciate you tuning into this one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
TVSO.